You're listening to Casual Alterations, a podcast by and for fans of Altered TCG. Here's your hosts, Kari and Ian.
Da 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 da. Dun 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 dun.
Okay, I got it. This is They Might Be Giants. Okay, but what's the name of the Canary and the Other Who watches a birdhouse in your soul? Okay, I got it.
Yes, it is.
It's about a nightlight, folks. Welcome, bienvenue, welcome.
Bonjour, hello. Welcome to Casual Alterations Podcast. The least professional, most something. I don't know. I got nothing today.
You got no adjectives today.
About Equinox's TCG Altered.
This is a podcast where we talk about Altered and why we love it. I am Kari, also known as Kari Fur, also known as the Tokens Lady.
This is Ian. I'm the token husband. Today we're going to talk about what we've experienced with the demo decks and what you might experience on your pre-release coming up this weekend.
But first, we want to remind you that this podcast is brought to you by you, Blue and Eric, for supporting us on Patreon, and as well as all of those of you who purchase our products on MakePlayingCards.com or Etsy.
And continue following us on Blue Sky. We have a new goal this week. We're going to keep pushing this. We're going to create Jellyfish Cube. I'm very sad. I'm very disappointed that there was no solution to the jellyfish. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a cube with unique jellyfishes, pretty much just that. Some spells in there too, maybe a couple permanents, but that's what we're going to do. So what we want from you is your unique jellyfishes. We want the paper copies, or if you already gotten your uniques from Equinox, you can send us the digital copies. We'll print them off ourselves. Our goal is to create a wonderful, unique, very quick playing cube. Please help us out. Build this for us. Help us build something wonderful and unique for everyone to play so we can keep playing with those jellyfish.
Yes, don't let your unique jellyfish languish in a box somewhere where they never see the light of day again. Send them to live in the Casual Alterations retirement home cube for unique jellyfish.
Today, as we said, we played a few demo deck games. We've been playing them pretty regularly since they came out on Wednesday. You've had a little more experience with some of the cards.
Yes, I have played some extra demo deck games. That is correct.
And so we've got a little bit of things that we thought it would be good for us to share. So why don't we have you start off, Kari, talk about what deck you want to talk about first and share with everybody your impressions of it.
Okay, well, obviously, for me, the first one that I need to talk about is Sol and Halua, because as you all probably have figured out, I am obsessed with Halua. So this is, of course, one of the decks that I intend to play this season. Apparently, I'm on a bandwagon. It was the most played deck in the demo deck tournament that AWOL and Equinox put on. Roughly 30% of the people who played in the AWOL demo decks tournament this weekend also chose to play with Sol. And we were justified, folks. It's good.
It is very good. In fact, during that tournament, it was finishing in 75% of the decks in the top 16 were Sol decks.
Yep, 30% of the playing field, 75% of the top 16. That says something right there. And it's not just because of Halua, although I like to think Halua has something to do with it. Rush is a very good mechanic. I was not sure about how that was going to play out when they first introduced it with the one card, but the more cards of it I saw, the more I started to understand the power of it.
And the power of it is just it being overwhelming. The fact that there's so much card advantage that you can get, and also interplay with other effects, resupply and sabotage within those cards, that you really are pushing the pace and affecting your opponent's hand size, their reserve size, and what they have out.
Yeah, and card draw for yourself as well, which is not something we see a lot of in Bravos.
I think the rush past turn mechanic is going to be huge. Phineas Fogg is a card that you are going to want to immediately remove if you have the chance to do that.
Oh, folks, I am so excited to see those Phineas Fogg uniques. I cannot wait. I am going to be praying and hoping to open up uniques with an arrow. You may immediately pass ability. That's what I want to see. We'll see if that exists, but that would be amazing. Those are the uniques that I think are going to sell for the most money on the marketplace.
Yeah, Fog will not be the hunger card, the card that everybody's chasing in rare to be $10. It'll probably be in the more realistic $1 to $2 range, but it will still garner some money on the marketplace. So just be watchful for that. So for me, I want to talk about the deck I'm least excited to see my opponent play, and that's Lyra. And I think the Lyra deck, especially with Noodles and company,
Nadir and Bubbles.
Yeah, Noodles and company. They are
Okay, wait, I got it. I see what you did there. Go ahead. Continue.
Noodles and company are going to just be very, very strong. And what you're really going to have to be careful with, and what I got burned on the games that I played against Lyra for, was just by chance having that one card with a low value in one area out in reserve, and expecting that I was going to be able to play that card in a specific zone on my coming turn, and then the Nadir player dropping down the zone that I was worse in that for that card. And it is just totally destroys your plans. And you would expect to see that, but it is worse than you can imagine. Forces you to play to another side, which your opponent is expecting you to do then, and so they can crush that other side as well. It is just very difficult.
Yes, I think that this hero is going to lead to some very creative deck building. The demo deck didn't perform as well in the tournament as some of the other decks, but I think when people are building their own decks, using their own cards, this is going to be much stronger.
As Lyra is all the time, right? You have to build really good decks around it.
Absolutely true. It requires a lot of very creative deck building, and I cannot wait to see what people do with this hero. So far, the craziest things that I've seen happen with it are related to where they put their terrain markers. You can put that in the starting terrain zone, so your opponent can never escape from the starting space on one side of the board, and they have to put all of their resources into trying to advance on one side only. And that sort of setback, it keeps you behind the entire game, no matter what you do.
Yeah, I saw one game that I played. The Nadir player advanced first on one side and I advanced on the other side. They dropped down water on my side because when they flipped it over, it was water on their side too, so that they were fighting against water on your side. And guess what? You got to get water again the next time. That made it really difficult for me to play. In fact, my token stayed there. When we finally got to the point where I was losing the game, I was only 2 spots away, but they had crushed me by that time.
Yep, and at that point, you're never going to get out of that water zone. And if you don't have heavy water in your deck, you're in trouble. And they can do that with anything. And there are cards that reward them for having single terrain regions visible on the map as well. So they can easily set that up on early turns when you wouldn't expect to see it.
Yeah, and you don't expect that permanent is going to be that strong when you look at it. But when it comes out and it plays and they're drawing cards from it, it's just a painful thing, because you're trying to keep their card advantage down against Lyra, and they're gaining more cards, and you're just in trouble.
Yeah, and just a little FYI, if you want to be a Chaos Gremlin, as our friend Eric said, you can put your terrain marker down in the tiebreaker arena at noon. I'm just throwing that out there. If you happen to roll into a tiebreaker and you still have a terrain marker on your hero, you can drop it down. That hurts. Obviously, for the next one, I think I'm going to have to go right into talking about Kari and Puff. Just to sum it all up, it's a little weird, but I love it. And I'm not just talking about the woolly back. I am a little bit talking about the woolly back. It does everything I was hoping it was going to do. So I am looking forward to building this deck for real with my own cards and my own uniques as well.
I saw it win. I'm still not convinced. I think it's a whole different deck for Muna or for any of the other heroes. I don't think it matches anything else that's being played. Giving your opponent some kind of advantage like that is just very unique in this game. I really need to see more builds of it, because I'm not sure it's going to be on par with Sigismar and Kojo and what I think will be Soul.
The Soul versus Kari matchup is pretty weak. Soul usually wins. but I do think Muna has some tools that aren't in the set that weren't represented in this demo deck. The thing that's really interesting to me, the one card that's the most interesting, I think, is Bait. Now, being able to take 3 tokens from your opponent and put them on your own side, maybe you're taking your woolly backs that you gave to them in the first place, but probably you're taking things like their Maw token that's been boosted, or their Halua, or their Manamos, or imagine this against Ghoulrang with your token spammers that are all boosted, and I'm just going to take all those now, they're mine. It's brutal, but it's one card. So is that one card enough to save Muna? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see.
Well, if you're going to talk about Bait, then let's talk about where Bait is actually from. Let's talk about Ysmir for a moment, and let's talk about Moyo, because I think this deck that was out there, that's the demo deck, was a very poor version of the deck that you're going to be building. It did have 4-drop cost cards, did have 5-drop cost spells, but things like that, you need to be sure that you are getting the perfect balance. And the demo deck did not have that. When I played it, it felt great to play because I'm getting my 2/2/2s, but it also was very disheartening. There's a couple times in games where I got cards at the wrong time, including one time when I'm playing in the arena and I draw 2 Sabu's Fury cards.
Sakarbru's Fury.
Yeah. And the Fury card does not do a darn thing when you're playing in the arena. And I only had 7 mana at that point because the game went very quick. And that's another thing about the Ysmir deck that I saw from the demo deck, is it played too fast. You really need a way to slow down your opponent more and play more controlling. Once it gets to be that control deck and somebody breaks it open, that deck is going to be strong. It's not going to be strong from the initial play, and it's not going to be strong in your pre-release.
Yeah, I have to admit, this was the most fun that I've had playing Ysmir ever, playing this deck. I didn't win a lot with it, but it did lead to some very interesting plays. It's just like every other deck this set, it's a slightly different way of thinking about the faction, and I appreciate what the designers have done with it.
What I'm interested in finding out too is, where do some of the regular cards that hit the Ysmir decks really fit into this? Where do the sacrifice cards like Gift of Self fit into this deck? Where does the Hunger fit into this deck? Where does the Helping Hand fit into this deck? Is this a totally different deck? To me, it's really up in the air. This is the deck that I really wanted to spend time building, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do it. I think somebody else is going to have to build it for me.
Okay, well, speaking of factions I don't usually play, but I had fun with, did we talk about Axiom?
No one's talked about Axiom.
I think we need to talk about Axiom. Folks, I enjoy the Axiom deck.
I don't think you can't. I mean, there's no way that you can't love this deck. You're going to be drawing. You'll have card advantage. Izuri is really a good hero.
Yeah, and finally, someone made Flawed Prototype a playable card.
Yeah, we saw in the Discord somebody wanting to ban Flawed Prototype. It didn't even have its day in the sun, and it needs to get banned.
Nobody was even playing it before. Now it's actually playable. It's great. You pay 4, you get a 5/5/5, and you get to resupply. What's not to love?
Yeah, absolutely. It is going to be, I think, one of the top 10 decks. Whether it hits the top 5, I don't know, but it's going to be strong.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was expecting it to perform much better in the demo deck tournament. It was only I think the top Axiom deck was only 32nd place out of all the decks that played, but I think part of that is because there was so much Bravos on the field.
Yeah, and I do think as demo decks go, they're trying to shine a lot of the cards. There are a lot of one-off cards in the deck that I think just don't belong or need to be 3-Fs. What I love about the deck, though, is the Leviathan Lucan. That Leviathan, or is it Lucen? I don't know. You decide for yourself. But that card is so unique. If you play the rare, what are you discarding? Your permanents. If you play the common, what are you discarding? Your reserve. I really think this is one of the few times in this game where you'll play one of each. Just depending on the situation, what you decide to do. Sure, you're going to have lots of permanents, but as the deck gets built up, I think you're going to end up with lots of cards in reserve, and there's going to be times when you're just going to be tossing cards in reserve, and you'd rather have the common one.
My favorite interactions with the card were always the rare version, in my experience. Yes, I've seen other people have managed to set up where they play the common and it works out great for them. I always ended up drawing the common at a time when I had one card in my reserve, and it was just sad. But the couple times I got to play the rare, when I had 3 to 4 permanents out, and I play it, I sack 4 permanents, I resupply 3 to 4 cards. Maybe I get to do a sabotage too, because maybe I have a rare armor jammer in the landmark zone. Wow.
And I think as well, this also works with an Anansi deck that is focused more towards putting cards in reserve, still using that Aerolith token, but using it in a different way to feed your reserve and keep building up your reserve, because that card, if the Aerolith token gets destroyed, or the Aerolith permanent rather than token, if that gets destroyed at the end of your turn, that just adds a card to your reserve. You've got 3 cards in reserve at the beginning of your next turn, and Nancy's going to love that. And if you play the Bravos Haven the turn before that as well, boom, another card in reserve. You get to choose what's in there, and you'll have a huge amount of cards in your landmark zone, so you're tossing 2 or 3 of those cards away. You might have 5 cards in reserve, and that's a wonderful Anansi play.
Right. I just want to rewind a little bit to highlight a rules change that was clarified just before this set came out. When you discard your permanents at the end of your turn because you have too many in your landmark zone, that is a sacrifice. Therefore, it triggers your arrow list, so you resupply. But because it's at the end of your turn, you don't have to discard them to having too many cards in reserve. That's part of what makes it so good, especially with Anansi, like you said.
And then also think about the Armor Jammer. It is another star in this deck, because you are going to play the rare one. Because when you sacrifice that rare one, it goes away. And guess what? Your opponent, who's got 1 card left in reserve that they're expecting to play next turn, or maybe 2, you're taking out the best one. And if it's your turn first, hey, you've got the 3/2 card that's going to come in. That's the new card that when you sacrifice a Aerolith, you get to sabotage. You just cut their reserve out to nothing at the beginning of their turn.
Yep. And again, to highlight the timing importance, when you sacrifice your rare armor jammer at the end of your turn because you have too many cards in reserve, that is after your opponent has already decided what they're discarding to clean up their own reserve. They have 2 cards left in their reserve. You've sacrificed your armor jammer. Now, yes, you go and sabotage one of the 2 cards they had left in their reserve.
It is very strong plays. And the fun thing about it is those combos really feel good to play. I don't know what they feel like on the other side, because I haven't played against anybody playing this deck, but I think it's strong.
Well, I mean, it feels bad. I've had it happen to me. But also, you recognize when you're playing against Axiom, you have to be careful about what you leave in your reserve, because it might not be there when you're ready for it. I found myself playing a lot of things in maybe out of order of how I normally would, because I knew that it was going to be sabotaged the next turn. But it also sort of forced my opponent to make other decisions, discarding the cards that were going to sabotage, because they knew I wasn't going to have anything in my reserve.
And the last deck we're going to talk about, the last faction, is Ortis. Ortis already has Sigismar. Is the Ascend deck worthy of playing against Sigismar? Is it better than Sigismar? Right now, that one's still a question that's got to be answered. I don't know. There's not many people playing it right now. I think there will probably be a time near the middle of this season where this deck comes out and shines. And I think it will be one of those decks that wins some Tumult championships. But it will be one of those things that I think will slowly grow over time. I don't think Sigismar players will cut over into it. I did find it difficult to play. I felt that while I could, on occasion, get Ascend, I couldn't always get the payoff for the Ascend as well. Like, you really have to consider playing 2 cards on those turns that are not yours. On the turn that it is, the Ascend comes out and you're first player, you are going to be successful in getting your Ascend stuff. But that's every other turn. So that other turn, what are you going to do during that time?
Yes, I think that the new Ortis hero is a good one, but I think people will be hesitant to switch to it from decks that are already consistently winning. I am looking forward to seeing how the more competitive players learn to harness it, because I'm not that player. But I actually had a lot of fun playing that deck when I was testing it out this week. And I was surprised, because I don't usually enjoy playing Ortis. The Ascend ability makes it so that you can win more often, and occasionally it pays you with a card. But your opponent is aware that if you have an unopposed Ascended expedition, you're going to advance. So a lot of times they'll just play something into that other expedition to stop you from getting your card draw. I think it's going to depend a lot on how well your opponents play against you.
And I think another thing to note too about the Ortis cards that are coming into this set, some of the better cards are coming in as rares in out of faction. And like the cards that are truly not rares, the cards that are coming from Ortis, like the Ugly Duckling or the Ascendant Trooper, they really are not shockingly good cards. Like surprisingly, they're going to dominate things. The cards that you're really seeing are the cards that are flipping over from other factions that might affect the gameplay. Other than the Doppelganger or Sajida, I really don't see any other cards really affecting the play. And both of those cards do fit into the Ascend deck, although they could also fit into Golrang.
The Doppelganger is a card that I am afraid of. So I was surprised not to see it in the demo decks.
Yeah, and it is kind of one of those cards that could be very good, or a Sabduende, which is a card that's starting to get played, just crushes your side with that card.
You play that, you get 6 boosts on it. They Sabduende to take your 6 boosts, and now their 6/6 is a 12/12/12. That sucks for you.
We encourage you to go out there and play those demo decks. Just be aware of 2 caveats about those demo decks as you're playing them. They're very light on removal. So when you are playing the practice situations, just take note. What cards would you want to add to this? Almost every one of the cases, I think, is going to be that they are removal. And then the second thing to note, too, is that there are cards that are not from Skybound Odyssey in the decks. Those cards will not be in your pre-release packs that you're going to get this weekend. So be aware that you're going to have to make do with what's in Skybound Odyssey. So just be aware of those 1-ofs and 2-ofs in those decks that you might want to rather play 3-ofs. Or, if you're lucky, 4-ofs.
In pre-release.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, if you happen to get, 5-6 copies of some really great card in your pre-release, play it. Play them all. You can do that. Pre-release is great. I love pre-release. Everybody, note pre-release this weekend. Please play in them, as many of them as you can, because pre-release is a great format. I wish we had more of it. And speaking of pre-release, a reminder of what is in your Skybound Odyssey pre-release kit. It will contain 7 booster packs, 1 unique card in English, regardless of what language your kit is in, 1 Skybound Odyssey acrylic first player token, a set of premium adventure cards, so you have your full adventure track, a punch out marker card, which will have like your fleeting, asleep, anchored markers, etc., and a deck building guide. So this is something that we said since the first pre-release kit was released. Guaranteed uniques in your pre-release kits is going to make an excellent playing experience for anyone who sits down to a pre-release. It's a great introduction to the game if you've never played it, and it's a great, fresh way to discover new cards if you are an experienced player. Either way.
Yeah, just don't get caught in the limited rush. The problem that you can sometimes happen when you got a limited card that you just love and you really want to play that card, that unique could draw you down a path where you're just going to have a crappy deck because you don't have the support for it. Just be careful with it. I did one play one of our first limited games that we played in a LGS. I did get 3 uniques, and I did try to play those 3 factions, and I went 0-4. And you will too if you really try to force it.
Yeah, do consider you still have to have a playable deck. Even if your unique is amazing, if your deck doesn't support that unique, look for your synergies. That's the most important thing.
Look for the heroes that make your deck better, and then build from the cards that you have. So the Axiom cards will help you draw. The Bravos cards are going to help you get that Halua token out if you're just passing quickly. So you're going to want a lot of low-cost stuff. How does the rest of your limited pool help you do those things?
Yep, and with 7 packs and a unique, you're likely to have enough cards that you can find those synergies and stitch them all together into a good deck. In fact, you might find yourself with 2 decks that are playable. Don't get too tied up in trying to force something to work if you're not seeing the cards. Play with what you've got. That's a note to myself because I try because I like to force the thing to happen that I want to have happen.
Oh, you play very well limited though, so don't downplay what you're. Of the two of us, you're a much better limited sealed player than I am. I will lose sealed almost every time.
I do love sealed a lot, but just a note to myself not to force a hero that I didn't open in my card pool. Play the cards I've got.
And that's going to do it for this week's podcast. Remember that the story's still coming out. It'll come out later this week.
And of course, please take a few moments to rate our humble podcast wherever it is you found us. Like it on Blue Sky, share it, tell your friends. Tell your friends about our jellyfish retirement home too. If you know people who got unique jellyfish paper copies sitting around, don't let them tear up those cards and throw them in the trash. Send them to us.
We may even have a special fund for those cards to be sent to us. So reach out to us if you have questions about that. Find us out there on the interwebs under Casual Alterations, No Spaces, and we hope to talk with you again shortly.
And please check us out on Patreon, Blue Sky, Make Playing Cards, Etsy, etc., or any future events where you happen to stumble upon us. Bye-bye!
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
This has been Casual Alterations Podcast. For more information, please visit us at casualalterations.wordpress.com.